everyone, and welcome to the World of Wrestling podcast. And I'm Slim, obviously. And before we start, I know it's a long episode because there's a lot to go through, but I did want to ask how everybody's day was. Let me know. Actually, don't worry about letting me know in the comments. I don't care. Let's talk about my day. My day today, right? My day today. Today's been a good day. I woke up this morning and I woke up and I came over and hopped in ready to watch AEW All Out today. Yeah, I'd ordered it and I got it all ready, put it on TV and everything. It was great. The show was great too. Yeah. There was a predictions contest for it, as you know, because you have definitely watched my other stuff, which is obviously on the channel, where we did predictions for it. Yeah, everybody should have watched that. Yeah, that's cool. So that finished, and it was really great, and then I went out and played with the dogs, and that was great because actually they were quite funny. Um, then then I went and watched the car racing, right? Not that shitty NASCAR that they have in America, but the V8s that we've got, yeah. And Holden won that, which is great because Holden's the best and Ford is shit. And then while that was happening, I was watching the football and St Kilda won, which is awesome because Saints are the best and they're going to win the grand final. And so everything's just been great. I won $12 today. Well, I won $12 today. It took $10 to win $12, but I still won. I still gained $2, so that's good. So that was off of AEW and the football. So yeah, and then I went and started playing the Xbox, and I've been playing 2K20 WWE. Yeah, everybody goes it's really shit, and I go yeah, it's not as good, but I'm having fun and all that, and well, that's all good. And then I decided well, I also went and played Supercard beforehand. Did that. That's going to be up on the channel at some point. And then I decided I'd do this. And yeah, so that's how my days went. It's been very, very good. I do have some. I do have I do have an important announcement for everyone. But that can wait until after we finish doing the review or the recap. So let's now start. We'll start with Payback. Okay? A great show. Another great show. Right? WWE have been doing really good pay-per-views. So let's go. Payback. Well, we're going to start on the pre-show, okay? And it was the Riot Squad versus the Iconics. As the Iconics come out, they say that the Riot Squad are adorable and they won't last tonight. They will expose Ruby as a fraud, and that will be iconic. A lot of the match was the Riot Squad not working together and the Iconics trying to make Liv believe that Ruby isn't her friend and should leave and not tag with her. It was a good match. The Riot Squad won by pinfall after they hit a double knee face buster, or code breaker, whatever you want to call it, right kick combo on Billie Kay. Then we start the main show with Apollo Crews defending the US Championship against Bobby Lashley with MVP and Shelton Benjamin. During Lashley's entrance, we have the Hurt Business cutting a promo saying that the last time Apollo ran into Lashley, he was put on the shelf, and tonight Lashley will take the title and make sure Apollo becomes a permanent stay-at-home dad. Pretty good match. Lashley won by submission with the full Lashley. Post-match, we get pictures of the Hurt Business posing with the title. Crews also jumps Lashley and escapes. We then look at the last part of SmackDown where it's revealed that Roman is working with Paul Heyman. Then we get a backstage interview with Paul and he says that he believes Roman will sign the contract. Backstage, we see JBL talking to Keith Lee. JBL hands Keith Lee a card and says that he'll make a lot of money if he wins his match tonight. but not to feel bad if he loses because Orton is one of the greatest of all time. Then we have Big E vs Sheamus. During Sheamus' entrance, he says that he heard what Big E had to say on Talking Smack, and he agrees that people have been talking behind E's back. He has heard people say that Woods and Kofi are holding him back because they're actually... Hang on, what's that say? Oh, but, not because. But they're actually propping him up, and tonight Sheamus will beat him. Pretty good match. Big E won by pinfall after hitting the big ending. Backstage interview with Matt Riddle, and Riddle says that he's over getting attacked all the time, and he believes that Corbin is scared that Riddle will take his crown. Riddle is then told about a tweet Corbin sent saying that he will prove Riddle is a failure in the ring, like he is at home. Riddle then storms off. We then see Baszler and Nia, who shove each other, and they say that they need to follow each other's lead. Then we have King Corbin vs Matt Riddle. Corbin attacks Riddle before the match. Pretty good match. Riddle wins by pinfall after hitting the floating bro. Backstage we see Riddle, who says that it's time to move on, and then we get an interview with Riddle, but Corbin attacks him. After that, we get Sasha and Bayley defending the Women's Tag Team Championships against Baszler and Nia. Really good match. Nia and Shayna win by submission. When Shayna locks Sasha in the Moodle lock and Bayley in the Kirifuda clutch. Then she uses Sasha Banks' arm to lock in the Kirifuda clutch and force Bayley to tap out. Post-match, we get an interview with Baszler and Nia, who say they aren't friends, but they will go and celebrate. We then get Randy Orton vs Keith Lee. Keith Lee now no longer wears a skirt, which is good. Well, I think they were long shorts, but it looks like a skirt. And he no longer wears that, which is good. Music's still the same, and he still wears a top, but I don't really care about the top. Everyone was complaining about that, but I couldn't care less. The music, though, the music should go back to what it was. It was a good match. It was short. Keith Lee won by pinfall after hitting the Spirit Bomb. Backstage interview with Paul Heyman, again, who says Reigns is here and will leave as Universal Champion. After that, we get Ray and Dominic versus Rollins and Murphy. Really good match. Ray and Dominic won by pinfall after Dominic hit the 619 and a frog splash on Murphy. We then see the Hurt Business leaving with the US Championship. Main event time, and it's a no-holds-barred Universal Championship match between The Fiend, Braun Strowman, and Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman, except Reigns still hasn't signed the contract. During The Fiend's entrance, Braun attacks The Fiend, and Fiend was the first one out, so neither Braun or Roman really got their entrances. The match begins without Roman. Backstage, multiple times we see Alexa watching The Fiend while playing with her dreadlock. The Fiend and Braun break the ring with a superplex, and at that point, Reigns makes his entrance with Paul Heyman, and Reigns signs the contract. On the stage, pretty good match. Reigns wins by pinfall after kicking The Fiend in the balls, which sent him out of the broken ring. Then he spears Strowman to pick up the win. And would you look at that? With that result, okay, let's just have a look. With that result, that puts me on 7 points for Payback, which is more than anybody. You can even, where is it there? You can hopefully, maybe if it'll, no, oh well, doesn't matter. I was trying to show you that, but it wouldn't work. That is saying that I win the predictions. Hell, not only does that mean I win the predictions, but I'm now a 13-time predictions champion, as you can see right there. Which is good. This has been really good. I mean, I know I have to defend it at All Out, but maybe that's going to be quite easy. You know, I don't know. I'm just gonna sit this over here. You know, Um, until I need it again, obviously. So we're going to move on to Raw, and Raw starts with a in memory of Bullet Bob Armstrong thing, like they do whenever someone dies. Then we start properly with Randy Orton, and as Orton is coming out, we see what happened last week between him and Drew. Orton recaps what he did to Drew last week and why. Randy says that the only thing Drew deserves is to be in pain. He then says that Drew said he would Claymore kick Randy at Payback, but the only person dishing out kicks here is himself. Randy then says that Drew thinks he's entitled, and he's goddamn right. Randy then says that tonight he will beat Owens, then later will win the triple threat so he can go to Clash of Champions and beat Drew for the title. Randy then shows a Photoshop picture of everyone he has punted in a hospital. Keith Lee then comes out. Keith then says that Randy is talking about what he has done, but what he hasn't mentioned is his loss to Keith Lee at Payback. And last night he made Randy bask in his glory. Keith then says that he thinks maybe he should get the opportunity against Drew himself. And then Keith gets attacked by Ziggler. We then get Keith Lee versus Ziggler. Winner advances to the Triple Threat number 1 contenders match later in the night. Pretty good match. Keith Lee won by pinfall after hitting the Spirit Bomb because quite obviously Dolph's not winning that. We then have a recap of what happened at Payback in the women's tag title match. Then a backstage interview with Nia and Shayna. They both take credit for winning the match. Asuka then shows up, and both Nia and Shayna take offense for Asuka showing up, and Nia steps to Asuka when she hit Baszler. Adam Pearce then tells security that if they don't prevent retribution, they will be fired. In-ring interview with Asuka. Asuka says something Japanese before saying that she has beat many great women and then lists them. And she says that Asuka is ready for anyone, and Mickie James comes out. Mickie says that Asuka is one of the greatest women champs of all time, and she's telling Asuka that she is coming for the Raw women's title. And Lana and Natalya come out, and Natalya says that Mickie is jumping the line. Lana says that Natalya is the locker room leader, not us, certainly not, because the locker room leader, the leader of the locker room, happens to be the one holding the Predictions Championship, me. So, she can't be the locker room leader, as in us. So it must be the Raw women's locker room, you know. Yeah, it must be. That's got to be the only conclusion that you can come to with that. Because I'm clearly the locker room leader, and I need to sit up. Alright, so that's a bit better. That's a lot better now. Asuka then says that she is ready for all three of them, and Natalya and Lana attack Asuka, but Mickie attacks Asuka and Mickie, but they fight them off. We then see what happened last week on Raw Underground with the Hurt Business. Backstage we see Demi, who wishes the Viking Raiders and Cedric good luck and gives Ivar a kiss. We then have Mickie James vs Lana with Natalya. Asuka is on commentary. Decent match. Mickie wins by pinfall with the Mick kick. We then see what happened last week on the Kevin Owens show. We then see Orton coming out of Aleister Black's locker room. Backstage interview with the Iconics, and they say that they have been best friends for years, and they will help the Riot Squad self-destruct, and then they'll win the women's tag titles, and it will be iconic. Then we get Randy Orton versus Keith Lee. Winner advances to the Triple Threat number 1 contenders match. During Owens' entrance, Black attacks Owens and hits Black Mass. Quick match because Owens hits Orton a couple of times before getting hit with the RKO and pinned. That means, Randy and Keith Lee are in the Triple Threat match. We still have one more to go, which is meant to be Rollins versus Ray, but because Ray suffered a tricep injury, Dominic took his place. We have a backstage interview with the Mysterio family. Ray says that he really wanted to beat Rollins up. However, if anyone was to take his place tonight, he would have Dominic do it. Dominic says that tonight he has a 619 with Rollins' name on it. We then get the VIP lounge, and MVP's guest is the US champion Bobby Lashley. Lashley says that he would beat Apollo. Oh no, that he said he would beat Apollo and take the US title, and he will get Apollo back for the post-match attack. Shelton says that he will beat Apollo in Raw Underground later. MVP says they should focus on their six-man tag against the Viking Raiders and Cedric. Cedric then comes out to distract the Hurt Business while the Raiders come up behind them. Then the six of them brawl. We then get the Hurt Business versus the Viking Raiders and Cedric Alexander. Good match. Cedric and the Raiders win by pinfall when Cedric rolls up MVP and hooks the tights. Post-match, MVP stops Lashley and Benjamin from attacking Cedric. Then we see Titus O'Neil getting ready for Raw Underground. Backstage, we see the Hurt Business beating up Cedric, and they stop when Apollo and Ricochet show up. Next, we get the Iconics versus the Riot Squad. Winners get a women's tag title opportunity. Losers must disband. And it was, as soon as that stipulation was added, it was quite obvious who was winning and losing. It was more obvious who was losing rather than who was winning. But given that it was two people, or two teams, if you can tell who is winning, then you can tell who is losing. So obviously the Riot Squad won after Ruby stacked up Billy for the 3. It was a decent match. The Iconics now must disband, which is shit. But whatever. Shane shows up backstage to tell the bouncer what will happen on Raw Underground tonight. Or, not tonight, but that night. We then look at the rivalry between Rollins, Murphy, and the Mysterios. We then have Dominic Mysterio vs Seth Rollins. Winner advances to the Triple Threat number 1 contenders match. After Rollins' entrance, Rollins gets on the mic, has a go at Murphy for losing at Payback, and says that he can't have Murphy screwing this match up for him. He also says that he doesn't want to hear or see Murphy until he figures out what side of history he wants to be on. Rollins then sends Murphy to the back, but before he gets to the back, Dominic blindsides him. Backstage, we see the Mysterio family watching. Really good match. Rollins wins by pinfall after hitting the stomp. Post-match, Rollins hits a second stomp. We then see Titus in Raw Underground beating people up. Then we get Titus vs Riddick Moss, which Moss wins after low-blowing Titus. Backstage, we have the Street Profits, who have a scouting report on Andrade, Angel Garza, and Zelina Vega. They say Andrade looks like he smells something really bad all the time. Garza might be wealthy, maybe, and Vega poisons people and is too short to get on rides at amusement parks. We then see Tozawa showing up with his ninjas, but he isn't on the list, and it turns out the dude who stopped him was a ref, and Truth won back the 24/7 championship. We then have a Tornado Tag Team match between the Street Profits and Andrade and Angel Garza, with Zelina Vega and Demi. Toward the end of the match, Retribution shows up and Garza gets Demi out of there, and Retribution attack the Profits and Andrade, who try to fight back. They also attack Vega, who also tried to fight off 3 members at once. Backstage, Adam Pearce is pissed. Back on Raw Underground, we see the Iconics. We also have the debut of Jessamine Duke. We also see Marina Shafir beat someone up. Peyton then feeds Billy to Shafir and Duke, which was quite funny, because Peyton's reaction to that was, whoops. Like, she just sort of looked like, whoops, I just got her beaten up. And Shane was like, yeah, that was really good, wasn't it? She's like, yeah, sort of, kinda, not really, but, we're not a team anymore, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, moving on. We then see what happened between the Hurt Business and Cedric earlier. because obviously we need a recap of things that have happened in the episodes. Like, they do it every week. They just recap something that happened earlier in the night. Like, we're dumb. But, whatever. Backstage interview in front of the Raw Underground door with Apollo, Cedric, and Ricochet. Apollo says that he is not going to stop going after Lashley until he gets the US title back. Ricochet also says that MVP doesn't know friendship, and Cedric knows that Ricochet and Apollo has Cedric's back. They then go into Raw Underground. We come back from break, and we're back in Raw Underground. We have Apollo Crews versus Shelton Benjamin. That then turns into a 3-on-3 with the rest of the Hurt Business, and Cedric and Ricochet. The Hurt Business win. Backstage, we see Angel Garza and Demi, who are trying to leave. Garza says he didn't abandon anyone and is just concerned for Demi's safety. Retribution shows up. Garza then abandons Demi. Main event time, and it's the WWE Championship No. 1 Contenders Triple Threat match between Randy Orton, Keith Lee, and Seth freaking Rollins. Pretty good match. Orton won by pinfall after Lee hit a Spirit Bomb on Rollins, and Orton hit an RKO on Lee, then pinned Rollins for the win. Orton will face Drew at Clash of Champions, provided Drew is cleared to compete, which he will be, obviously. We'll move on to AEW Dark, and this week's episode, first episode, has 11 matches, which means that if you put this episode and the episode that aired yesterday yesterday, and because I decided to do another Dark before All Out, you put the amount of matches on both shows together, you get 19 matches. Right. If you were to say that each show had 5 matches on it, you can nearly make 4 shows. So you're looking at about 8-9 shows that they could have made with the amount of matches that they've had this week. Anyway, Excalibur is back on commentary, because he hasn't been on for ages. First match of the night is Eddie Taurus vs Shawn Spears with Tully Blanchard. During the match, Spears shakes Taurus' hand. I thought that was worth mentioning. Pretty good match, on the verge of a really good match. Spears wins by pinfall with the C4. Post-match, Spears uses the loaded glove. Then we have Santana and Ortiz versus Ryzen and Fabu Andre. Good match. Santana and Ortiz win by pinfall after Ortiz hit a sit-out powerbomb, then flicked Andre into a kick from Santana. Post-match, they get on the mic and Santana says that they will send best friends home crying. After that is Cassandra Golden vs Ali with QT Marshall. Good match. Ali wins by pinfall with Down the Rabbit Hole. In the parking lot, we see Santana and Ortiz, who get attacked by best friends. Then it's Frankie Kazarian vs Angelico. Really good match. Kaz wins by pinfall with a reverse DDT. On stage interview with Brandy Rhodes, who says she's not upset that the Nightmare Sisters lost the women's tag tournament. She also says that she's pissed that Anna Jay attacked her. Brandy then challenges Anna Jay to a match. We then get Donnie Primetime and Ryan Rembrandt versus the Gun Club. Decent match, pretty much an extended squash match for the Gun Club. Austin picked up the win after hitting the quick draw on Donnie Primetime. Next up is Abaddon vs Danny Jordan. Good match. Abaddon wins by submission with rapid fire punches to the knee that was worked on all match. Then we get Ricky Starks vs Tony Zanardi. Good match. Starks wins by pinfall after hitting the Rochambeau. Then we have John Cruz and David Ali vs Jurassic Express with Marco Stunt. Stunt comes out on crutches. Good match. Jurassic Express win by pinfall after hitting the extinction level event on Cruz. Following that is Anna Jay with the Dark Order vs Red Velvet. Anna Jay wins by submission with the rear naked choke. Next on the card is Sean Dean vs Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford. Pretty good match. Sabian wins by pinfall with the rope hung twisting neck breaker. Main event time, and it's the Initiative with Leva Bates versus Private Party. Pretty good match. Private Party win by pinfall when Cassidy makes a blind tag and locks Cutler in a cradle to pick up the 3. Post-match, Avalon attacks Cutler and hits him with the D20 die. Moving on to AEW Dynamite, and it's the go-home show for All Out. AEW this week starts with a recap of the rivalry between Santana and Ortiz and the Best Friends. Before we get Santana and Ortiz versus Best Friends. During Santana and Ortiz's entrance, Best Friend jumps them. The two teams then brawl for a while. Pretty good match. Santana and Ortiz win after Santana hit Trent in the back with a retractable baton. Then Santana and Ortiz hit the street sweeper for the 3 count. We then hear from MJF, who says he'll beat Moxley for the title at All Out. Lee Johnson then tells MJF that Mark Sterling, which is his lawyer, has locked himself in a room. Wardlow then kicks the door in, and MJF tells him to either get in the ring or into a wood chipper, which is funny. And I've also sort of seen that because if anybody's watched Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, obviously one of the deaths comes when someone goes in a wood chipper. Pretty funny. Go and watch that movie. You won't regret it. We then get Private Party and SCU vs. Jurassic Express with Marco Stunt and the Young Bucks. Winning team faces each other at All Out. During the match, Matt rips up a sign saying, "Hangman, drink my beer," and then pours the beer on the dude's head. Really good match. Bucks and Jurassic Express win by pinfall after the Bucks hit the BTE trigger on Quen. Then we see Jake Hager, who walks into Orange Cassidy's locker room and tells him that Jericho wants Orange at ringside for his match later. We then see Tully Blanchard, who tells FTR that they need to take the titles at All Out. FTR says that their legacies will be nothing if they don't win. In-ring interview with Kenny Omega. Shivani asks what he thinks about what happened last week. Omega says that it was a mistake on Hangman's part, but at All Out they will beat FTR. FTR and Tully come out. FTR then says that Kenny and Hangman have had their run and they have never had a problem with Omega, and they want to have a great match at All Out, and they want to cheers to that. Omega then turns down spending any more time with dickhead hillbillies. Then he has to. Right. So spending any more time with them than he has to. Omega then says that he wants to fight FTR and he knows that he'll lose, but let's do it anyway. Hangman then comes out and FTR says that they didn't get in Hangman's head and they didn't make him do anything. It was all Hangman. They then call Hangman a piece of shit, and they also say that Omega knows it too. FTR then pick up and drop the tag titles at Hangman's feet. Backstage interview with Chris Jericho, and Jericho says that All Out, everyone will find out who the better man is, and now Jericho needs to put a bullet in Orange's head. Jericho then calls Joey Janela a sacrifice because he's going to give him a taste of what he's going to do to Orange at All Out. Then we get Joey Janela vs. Chris Jericho with Jake Hager. Orange Cassidy is at ringside. Good match. Jericho wins by submission with the Walls of Jericho. Post-match, Jericho attacks Janela and rams his head into the exposed turnbuckle, and that busts Janela open. Jericho then smears Janela's blood on the Orange Cassidy shirt he was wearing. Orange then goes to attack Jericho, but Hager helps Jericho until Sonny Kiss comes out to even the odds. In the end, Hager pulls Jericho out of the ring when Orange went for a Orange punch, which is his Superman punch. Orange then pours out a bottle of bubbly while giving the thumbs down. We then see what has happened in the rivalry between Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy. Sammy then comes out and does his whole cue card thing, but we see that Matt is looking on from above with his own cue cards. Then Team Taz come out, and Taz says that Ricky Starks will beat the hell out of Darby Allin. Then Lance Archer and Jake Robert interrupt and says that Team Taz is the best set of losers he has seen before Butcher, Blade, Lucha Brothers, and Eddie Kingston come out. And Kingston says that Lance isn't tougher than he is, and that Brian Cage is good for nothing. Then Shawn Spears and Tully Blanchard come out. We then get a massive brawl when the Gun Club attack Eddie Kingston and his crew. Then Darby comes out and goes right after Starks, and a bunch of wrestlers come in from the crowd to get in on the action. Santana and Ortiz and Jake Hager come out, but Santana and Ortiz are jumped by best friends. We then get a promo package for the Dark Order versus the Natural Nightmares, Scorpio Sky, and Matt Cardona. We then have Thunder Rosa vs Serena Deeb. Pretty good match. Thunder Rosa won by pinfall with the Thunder Driver. Backstage, Moxley says that at All Out, MJF will finally get his shot, but Moxley will beat MJF because 2020 has been a bad enough year already, and if MJF wins the title, this year will be even worse. Ringside interview with Big Swole, who says that Britt Baker has been ducking and dodging at her, but at All Out, on the buy-in, they will be fighting tooth and nail. Reba then shows up with a pizza for Tony, but it's just a distraction so Britt could attack Swole. That match was then moved to the main card. Main event time, and it's Mark Sterling with Wardlow versus Jon Moxley. Sterling says that the Page 17 thing is a disgrace, but he hasn't found a way to get rid of it, so he has to fight Moxley. But Wardlow has taught him a few things, so they should have a nice match. Mox just toys with Sterling to start off with. Squash match, obviously. Moxley wins by pinfall after hitting the Paradigm Shift. Post-match, Wardlow attacks Moxley and hits the F10 twice before MJF comes out and beats Moxley up and busts him open. After he hits Moxley in the head with the Dynamite Dozen ring. MJF then bites open the wound before punching him some more and then he stands over Moxley with the AEW World Championship to close the show. Moving on to NXT. And this week's NXT begins with a recap of last week's show. Wade Barrett's back on commentary again, like he said he would be. And we start off properly with Legado del Fantasma versus Breezango and Swerve in a street fight. Match starts with Legado in the ring and Breezango and Swerve come on the outside. During the match, Imperium come down and help Legado del Fantasma by beating up Tyler Breeze. Really good match. Swerve and Breezango won by pinfall after Swerve hit a cool looking move. I can't even explain it, and I don't think it has a name. Lots happened, too much to actually go into, so just go and watch it, because it was awesome. We then see Gargano backstage. We then have Tegan Nox talking about Candice LeRae. After that, we have Candice LeRae versus Kacy Catanzaro with Caden Carter. Good match. Candice won by pinfall after hitting a stomp to the back of the head after she locked up Casey's legs and grabbed and held her hands. Post-match, Candice gets on the mic and says that Casey and Caden's friendship reminds her of her friendship with Nox, and that she says she wants to work it out and invites Nox to come to her house for a meal so they can work it out over tea. Backstage, we see Ripley, who says that she is sick of Mercedes and the Robert Stone brand. She's sick of them sticking their noses in her business. She then challenges Martinez to a steel cage match. Then we have Bronson Reed versus Timothy Thatcher. During the match, Austin Theory attacks Reed behind the ref's back. Good match. Thatcher wins by submission with the Fujiwara armbar. Backstage, we see Cole talking to Era, and Ciampa is also getting ready for the main event. Backstage, Mercedes accepts Rhea's challenge. Main event time, and it's Fatal 4-Way 60-minute Iron Man match for the NXT Championship between Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Finn Balor, and Adam Cole, baby. During the match, Balor and Cole do their Bullet Club pose, like the whole, thing. Balor gets the first fall on Adam Cole with the coup de grace. Gargano picks up the second fall on Balor after Ciampa hit a fairy tale ending and Gargano got rid of Ciampa. Cole gets the third fall on Gargano with the Panama Sunrise. Ciampa gets the fourth fall on Cole with a fairy tale ending, making it so that everyone's on 1 point. Balor gets the fifth fall within the last 20 seconds on Ciampa with a coup de grace. Adam Cole gets the sixth and final fall after hitting the last shot of Balor in the last 10 seconds. It was literally 1, 2, 3 as the clock went 3, 2, 1. Really good match. Post-match, Regal says next week a singles match between Balor and Cole will determine the NXT champion, and someone must win. Moving on to NXT UK. This week's NXT UK, we see Ridge Holland versus Volta, and we see the number one contenders battle royal from the last proper NXT UK show. We also get promo packages for the relaunch of NXT UK, which will take place in 2 weeks, I believe. Moving on to SmackDown, and we start with the show with a recap of what happened at Payback in the Universal Championship match. We'll then kick it off properly with Reigns and Heyman. Paul says that Roman is corrupting him, not Paul corrupting Roman. Paul then says that Roman has made Paul relevant again. He then says that The Fiend and Braun aren't built to be champion, but Roman is. Paul says that he isn't going to say the names of the people in the Fatal 4-Way later, and he will leave it up to Cole. I don't remember what he called him. And Graves, which Paul calls Carmella's latest boyfriend, which was funny. Roman then says that he did what he said he would do at Payback, and he'll win at Clash of Champions. Then we get Heavy Machinery versus Miz and Morrison. Pretty good match. Heavy Machinery win by pinfall after Otis hit the Caterpillar and Nevada Bomb on Miz. Post-match, Morrison steals the Money in the Bank. Backstage, we see Big E and Drew Gulak, who are getting ready for Xavier Woods to show up so they can have a birthday party, when Lucha House Party show up and they try to touch the cake. Big E says that not only is it Woods' birthday, but tonight he has an opportunity to earn the right to challenge Roman for the Universal Championship. Big E is then told that Woods is here, and as he goes to the parking lot, he is instead ambushed by Sheamus, who hits white noise on the windscreen of a car. We then get an update on Big E, and Kayla says that Big E will be taken to a local medical facility. Sheamus then shows up and says it was self-defense and it's Woods' fault. Sheamus then says that he's got to go and prepare for his Fatal 4-Way match later tonight. He then comes back and says it'll probably be a triple threat. Backstage interview with Sasha and Bayley, and they say that they couldn't prepare for Nia and Baszler at Payback because they hadn't teamed together, but now they know what to expect and will win back their titles. Backstage interview with Adam Pearce. Pearce says Big E won't be able to compete tonight, but we will still get a Fatal 4-Way. But Pearce doesn't know who will replace Big E. Paul Heyman then asked to talk to Pearce. Then we get Nia and Baszler defending the women's tag titles against Sasha and Bayley. During Baszler and Nia's entrance, Cesaro and Nakamura say that whoever wins this match will have a home in the Champions Lounge. Nia and Baszler retain after Nia hits a double crossbody on Bayley and Sasha to pin them both. Post-match, medics come and check on Sasha's knee because it was injured. That was the whole story of the match. That she sort of injured both knees, so yeah. Once we come back from break, Bayley attacks Sasha and finishes her attack by putting a chair over Sasha's head and stomping it from the top rope. Like you would do in the old games where you'd get the chair and you'd sort of put it over their head and then you'd stomp it. Sami Zayn is out next, and while Sami is coming out, we look at what happened last week when he returned. Sami has a go at Greg Hamilton and the production truck for not saying he's the Intercontinental Champ. Jeff Hardy then comes out and says that if Sami wanted a shot at the IC title, all he had to do was ask. The two then argue over who the right champ is. Then AJ comes out and says that he is the rightful champion anyway. Styles attacks Jeff and Sami joins him. Then Styles attacks Sami. Sami wins the brawl. We then get told that Jey Uso is the replacement for Big E. Backstage, Tucker says that Morrison has the Money in the Bank, and Otis says he doesn't. And Morrison opens up the briefcase to find that it's Otis's lunchbox, and the little lunchbox that Otis carries is for the contract. Jey then thanks Roman for getting him into the Fatal 4-Way match. And before the main event starts, right, we already had the entrances, sort of. We had Riddle's entrance anyway. That's right. We had Riddle's entrance, and then we got all this. So before the main event starts, we get a Firefly Funhouse, and Bray says that he's sad because he lost his favourite toy, but next week a new friend will join the Funhouse. Backstage, Alexa apologises to Nikki for what happened last week. Nikki accepts. Alexa has more dreadlocks, and Rambling Rabbit is behind them both. I think Alexa is the new friend that will join the Funhouse. Main event time, and it's the number one contenders Fatal 4-Way match for the Universal Championship between Matt Riddle, King Corbin, Sheamus, and Jey Uso. When Corbin comes out, he says Jey doesn't deserve to be in the match. Riddle then attacks Corbin. Sheamus comes down to join the brawl, and so does Jey. Pretty good match. Jey wins by pinfall with a top rope splash on Riddle. Post-match, we get an in-ring interview with Jey, who says he made the family proud too, and welcomes Reigns to the Uso Penitentiary. Moving on to 205 Live, and it starts with Arya Daivari versus Tahuti Miles. Good match. Daivari wins by pinfall with the Hammerlock Lariat. Post-match, Daivari fakes going to give Miles a handshake. We then look at the six-man street fight from NXT. Then we get Mansoor versus Kobe Carino. Carino is the son of Steve Corino. Just thought that I might add that. Mansoor wins by pinfall after hitting the one-winged angel Murphy Law combo thing that he does, where he gets him like a one-winged angel and then he turns it into the ending of the Murphy's Law. We then look at what happened last week during the Britain Brawlers vs Everrise match. Main event time, and it's Everrise vs the Britain Brawlers. Arya Daivari joined commentary for this match. The match ends in no contest with Legado del Fantasma and beat both teams down. Moving on to the second AEW Dark of this week. And this one has 8 matches, which if you couldn't have worked out from when I said that last episode had 11, and together they had 19, then, well, I think you need to improve your maths skills. I can do maths. As you can see, I've been able to keep track and count how many predictions championships I've won. And, I'm at 13. So, yeah. First match of the night is Fabu, Andre, and D3 versus the Butcher and the Blade with Eddie Kingston. Match starts before the bell. Good match. Butcher and Blade win by a pinfall after hitting full death on D3. Then we get Red Velvet versus Ali with QT Marshall and Brady Rhodes, who joins commentary. Good match. Ali wins by pinfall with Down the Rabbit Hole. After that, it's Colt Cabana with the Dark Order versus Zach Clayton. Dark Order get involved at multiple points during the match, including having a go at Colt. Colt wins by pinfall with the Discus Clothesline. Backstage interview with the Librarians. Avalon says that it's time for him to shine on his own, so the initiative is over. Avalon then challenges Cutler to a match where someone must win. We then have Ryzen and Angel Perez versus the Lucha Brothers. Really good match. Lucha Brothers win by pinfall after they hit a pole driver where Penta has Perez's arms trapped and his feet were on the shoulders of Phoenix. Kingston, Butcher, and Blade come out, and Kingston says that one of the 5 of them will win the Casino Battle Royal. Then it's Ivelisse with Diamante versus Kylan King. Good match. Ivelisse wins by pinfall with the code red. Then we have Brandon Bullock and Sean Dean versus the Dark Order, that being 3 and 4. Pretty good match. Dark Order win by pinfall after hitting the double flipping DDT on Bullock. Backstage interview with Brandon Cutler. Before the interview, Lever is talking to Brandon. Brandon says that he accepts Peter's challenge and that he will win. We then get Luther versus Darby Allin. Luther attacks Darby during his entrance. Pretty good match. Darby wins by pinfall after hitting the coffin drop. Main event time, and it's the Natural Nightmares with Ali versus the Dark Order, that being 5 and 10 this time. Natural Nightmares don't even wait for their introduction, they just attack Dark Order. Pretty good match. Natural Nightmares win by pinfall after Dustin hit the final reckoning on 5. Moving on to All Out, which obviously took place just a couple of hours ago. We'll start on the buy-in, where we have 2 matches. The first of which is Joey Janela with Sonny Kiss versus Serpentico with Luther. Janela doesn't wait for his introduction before starting the match. Luther gets involved a couple of times. Pretty good match. Janela won by pinfall with the elbow drop from the top rope. We then get Private Party versus the Dark Order, that being 3 and 4. Really good match. Private Party win by pinfall with Gin and Juice. We then kick the main show off with the Tooth and Nail match between Big Swole and Britt Baker. It's sort of a cinematic match that takes place at Britt's dentist office. Pretty good match. Swole won after she used the nitrous, the mask, to put Britt to sleep. There was also a needle with something in it that ended up going into Britt's leg, and it went to sleep as well. Reba went into a dumpster at some point, and yeah, that was really the main points of the match. Post-match, Swole ripped up Britt's diploma. Then we have Jurassic Express with Marco Stunt versus the Young Bucks. Great match. Bucks won by pinfall with the BTE trigger. Then we get the Casino Battle Royal. Actually, before we move on to the Casino Battle Royal. So, the first match, which was the Janela versus Serpentico match. I picked Janela, who won, so I'm on 1 point. Then we had the Private Party versus Dark Order. I picked Private Party, so I'm on 2 points. Then we had the Tooth and Nail match, and I picked Swole, which puts me on 3 points. Then we had the Jurassic Express Young Bucks match. I picked the Bucks. That puts me on 4. So now we'll move on to the Casino Battle Royal, where I picked Lance Archer. Okay, so keep that in mind. Taz joined commentary for the Casino Battle Royal, and the first suit to come out are the Clubs, which has Trent, Christopher Daniels, Jake Hager, The Blade, and Ray Phoenix. Then we get the Diamonds, which has Frankie Kazarian, Will Hobbs, Chuck Taylor, Santana, and Ortiz. Then we get the Hearts, which have Billy Gunn, Penta El Zero M, Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, and Darby Allin. After that, we get the Spades, which have Sean Spears, who goes over and joins commentary for a little bit, Eddie Kingston, The Butcher, Sonny Kiss, and Lance Archer. And then the Joker is Matt Sydal. Austin Gunn was originally meant to be in the match, but just didn't show up. I don't know why. He was there, he was in the crowd, but don't know why he wasn't in the match. They must have just taken him out and told anyone. When Sydal came out, he went for a shooting star press, but slipped off the ropes and landed on the top of his head. We get down to the final 4, which are Eddie Kingston, The Butcher, Lance Archer, and Matt Sydal. Then we get down to the final two, which are Eddie Kingston and Lance Archer. Really good match. Lance Archer wins by pinfall, eliminating Eddie Kingston. Puts me on 5. After that, we have the Broken Rules match between Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. If Matt loses, he will leave AEW. The match starts at the field where the Stadium Stampede took place. Sammy shows up in a golf cart or whatever the hell it is that Matt kept running Sammy over in. The match ends after the doctor says Matt can't compete, apparently. Post-match, Matt finds Sammy again and continues to fight, which then the match gets restarted. Matt then wins after knocking Sammy off of some scaffolding through the stage, and Sammy couldn't answer the count of 10. It was an okay match. It seems that when they botched it at the start, right? Because what happened was they were on a scissor lift, and Sammy speared, I think, Matt off of that, and they were meant to go through 2 tables that were set up. But Matt nearly cleared the tables, like his lower back hit the tables and went through them, but his head hit the concrete. So what I've heard has happened is that the whole sort of stoppage in the middle there, and then where they restarted it, just went straight to the end. Like, they didn't do any of the middle stuff, they just went straight to the end when they restarted. Which apparently means that the doctor cleared him, but I don't know. Yeah. It was an okay match, but it definitely got hampered by not having the middle. It was sort of, yeah. But that, with Matt winning, that puts me on 6. And apparently he doesn't have a concussion or anything. He's had that checked. No concussion. What I heard was that he passed the concussion test at the venue. He still went to a hospital, but after that, I haven't heard anything after that. I don't think. So yeah, as far as I know, he's fine. Moving on, and we have the AEW Women's World Championship match between AEW Women's World Champion Hikaru Shida and NWA Women's World Champion Thunder Rosa. Really good match. Shida won by pinfall with the Tomashi. Backstage interview with Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. Penelope says they're getting married, and Kip says that their wedding will be live on Dynamite. Kip then says that his best man will be revealed on Dynamite this week. Well, next week, whatever. Then we get the Dark Order, that being Brody Lee, Colt Cabana, Evil Uno, and Stu Grayson, with 4, who is holding the TNT Championship for Mr. Brody Lee, versus the Natural Nightmares, Scorpio Sky, and Matt Cardona with the Nightmare Sisters. During the match, Anna Jay tries to get involved, but Brandy takes her out. Really good match. Natural Nightmares, Scorpio Sky, and Matt Cardona won by pinfall after Dustin rolled up Colt. Post-match, Brody yells at Colt because he set Colt up for the win. Uno stays behind to help Colt. Post-match interview with Dustin, who says the win was for Cody. Schiavone then tells Dustin that on Dynamite he has a shot at Brody Lee for the TNT Championship. It's then the AEW World Tag Team Championship match between FTR with Tully Blanchard and the champions Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega. Great match, another one. FTR win by pinfall after Omega hit the V-trigger on Hangman, which allowed FTR to hit the Mindbreaker, but Hangman kicked out, so they hit a second one, and that put him out. Post-match, FTR give Hangman some beer. Omega walks out on Hangman. It looks like he was going to attack him, but he just walked out on him. He gets to the back where he tells the Bucks that he's done and let's go. Omega then gets in a car and leaves. Backstage interview with Chris Jericho, and Jericho says that the past 14 weeks have been an experiment to see if Orange can be made into a main eventer. Jericho says that he was successful in doing that, and tonight, since he made Orange, he will destroy him. We then get the Mimosa Mayhem match between Orange and Chris with Floyd. Pretty good match. Orange won by one after he Orange punched, right, which is the Superman punch, Jericho into a vat of mimosa. What I also haven't been doing since the Matt Hardy match, so I'll go back and I'll do that now. I picked Sheeta to win the women's title, so that puts me on 7 points. I picked Dark Order to win, so I didn't get a point for that. I picked FTR to win, which puts me on 8 points. Then I picked Jericho to beat Orange, so I didn't get a point for that. Main event time, and it's Jon Moxley defending the AEW World Championship against MJF with Wardlow. Before we get into what happened, in terms of the Predictions Championship at this point, I am sitting on top with 8 points. And if MJF wins, then I retain. Because the next people below me, which is Joe and Kyle, were on 7 points. And they had picked MJF. Seth was on 6 points or whatever he was on, 5 points, whatever. So, yeah, that means that I am still the Predictions Champion, which is just great. However, if Jon Moxley wins, spoiler, he does, if he wins, I outright retain. Which, obviously, yeah. I believe that's right. Let me just have a look. Oh, no, actually, that wasn't right. Whoops. We were all tied on 8 points at that point. So had MJF won, I would have lost the title. It would have been a draw between Joe and Kyle. Whoops. And then, obviously, if Moxley won, I retain. Which he did. It was a really good match. Moxley wins by pinfall after hitting the paradigm shift while the ref was distracted by Wardlow, who had gotten up on the apron to chuck MJF the Dynamite Doesn't Ring. As he didn't catch it, and as he found it again, he looked at Moxley, he looked at him, and then just went bang. And then 1, 2, 3. I'm still Predictions Champion. And that means that at Clash of Champions, which is definitely the next pay-per-view, I will defend that belt. So, yeah. And, I'm not letting it go or anything. But, yeah. So that was this week in the wrestling. That was the World of Wrestling podcast for this week. However, okay, what we know is that on the 28th is Clash of Champions. Now, Whale Dong, you still haven't gotten back to me on that. Whether you want to challenge me for my Predictions Championship there. So you can challenge me at Clash of Champions, obviously. There's also next month, which has quite a few shows. Maybe I'll get my phone and I'll have a look for you. Okay. I got a weird message then, but anyway. So what we know is that AEW will hold their next pay-per-view on the 7th or the 8th of November. So there's no AEW next month. New Japan, they don't have any actual events this month for us to do predictions for. However, next month on the... Just give me a look. On the 18th, there will be the G1 Climax Finals, which we will do predictions for. So you can challenge me, for Clash of Champions, which is the last one this month, or you can challenge me at New Japan. NXT UK has a show on the 25th, I believe. Yep, on the 25th of October. So you can challenge me there. NXT, I don't think... Well, they haven't announced another show yet. But I've heard it's taking place in October anyway. I've heard that there won't be a WWE pay-per-view in October, but they're moving it to the start of November. So, yeah. Those are your opportunities for the next 2 months. Well, this month and next month. That's your opportunities to challenge me for my title. Oh, hang on. No, that's not all of them. Impact has a pay-per-view on the 25th as well of October. So, they are all your opportunities, Whale Dom. I'm calling you out. I'm going to keep calling you out until you answer. Whether you say, yes, I accept, or no, I'm a pussy, I'm not going to accept your challenge, that doesn't worry me. Either way is fine. But, and hell, if anybody else is watching this and they want a shot at me and my predictions title, you're more than welcome. Just let me know in the comments, and I'll add you in, and I'll defend this piece of black gold, and I will beat you like I beat everyone all the time. Not letting it go this time either. 13, it's over. And if I do, it's just because I want to get it back again. You know how it is. Like, if I lose, it's just because I want to lose. Like, even when you're playing, WWE on the Xbox or whatever, hey, you might be doing sort of a storyline where it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm winning, but then you sort of go, but I do want to lose just because it makes sense. So that's all that is. But yeah, other than that though, that's been it for this episode of the World of Wrestling podcast. Anybody that wants to join the predictions, let me know. I might even start up a separate predictions one for the one that I do now, and one for YouTube. Yeah, we'll see. But other than that, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Oh, hang on. Before I do that, I should say, like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell if you want, don't care if you do or not. Other than that though, goodbye and good night.